Welcome to Porlock on this cold, frosty, somewhat windy, but sunny day. And sun in Porlock doesn't often happen. So, Redsands, here we are. Again, the car park charges. The parking machines here, it's ANPR controlled with the cameras. And you can only use card or mobile phones for payments. It doesn't accept cash. Also, you need to pay on the way out of here. It's not a pay and then park. People get caught out. If you do, they send you fines in the post, so you're not covered. So always pay on the way out. Which I forgot to mention in the last video about Porlock. There's also a small toilet block here. You've got your general standard baby changing facilities as well, should your mate be a bit of a wetty. But anyway, today we're going over to Redsands, a venue that I really like. It's not that commonly known, but it can be a really good mark. It's just over there. It's about a 10-minute walk. I'll show you the rock falls on the way as well, because you get isolated because of the tide coming up and hitting the land. Sorry, not rock falls, it's more mud than anything. But anyway, I'll talk about the dangers on the way, and yeah, let's get over there. It's a great mark, love it. Okay, so we've just come out from beyond that first bit of headland coming out, and you're roughly halfway here. You'll notice all the landfall where the tide hits here. So during high tide, on a larger tide, or a smaller tide with a north or west wind, then this sea lumps right up and it hits that. You will be out on the end over there, which is a stone spit. It looks quite big from here, but you can be swept off the top of it. So, word warning, you do get cut off. I'm going to say for safety, 2 hours. Generally it's a little bit less, but let's just say, like, safety wise it's 2 hours. If you don't mind fishing rough weather like myself, then do not come here on a rough night. You can be swept off the back. There is nowhere to go behind because the marshland fills up with water as well. It can be a dangerous mark in storm weather. Just remember, these are storm beaches here, and they're pretty lethal. Apart from throwing stones everywhere, they're just as dangerous. The water can take you off the top and you will be taken out. The current here is so strong. Okay, so here we are. This is Redsands. The car park is back over there by the buildings. Yeah, like I said before, it's a good sort of 10-minute walk with all your gear. It's called Redsands because the sand down in front here is all sort of like red with clay and everything. I've got it just as the tide is coming in. What you see is where the water's going around the stones, that's actually all sand with mixed in sort of like boulders, like you can see just in the foreground here. So fishing here is better on spring tides. I don't find there's one spot better than the other, but myself personally, I either tend to sit up here and fish between this boulder line that you can see happening, or I tend to go down and I sit on the breach where it floods the headland. Depends what fish I'm after. For the codling and the bass, I come up here. For hounds and other species that like the faster waters, you'll also get bass down the other end too. I tend to fish down on the point, which we'll make our way down towards. This place can also produce good huss and good eels. I've had them to decent sizes here, double figures. But during the winter, it's always worth a fish here for the codling that come through. There's a lot of codling that come through here, generally speaking, so it's always worth a fish. Again, if you like your wildlife, you've got all the marshland behind us, of which this morning I've already disturbed an egret, a heron. What else was there? There was sandpipers, and I saw a avocet as well. Oh, just turned up. So I was saying about the huss, just found that on the beach. You got mermaid's purse. It's all over the show here. You also get a lot of junk wash up here where the tide sort of pushes in. I think the reason this fishes so well is because it pushes the fish in as well. You got Gore Point, which we saw yesterday. just over there in the distance coming out, and the water tends to like flow off across from there and literally comes into Redsands pretty much direct. Oh, right, it's very cold and frosty this morning too. It's a bit slippy on these stones with the frost, but we'll get on with it. None of this fair weather stuff, although we have got the sun, which makes a nice change. So coming up to the middle of Redsands, and as you can see it goes on to boulder. I mean, a maximum cast into the distance over there, like on the edge of the boulder field, is probably around 70 yards from the top of the shingle bank. You won't want to be going any further than that, because you're going to be in a thick boulder field that you're not coming back out of. Even if you have a rotten bottom, chances are your hook length is going to hook up in all the weed if it doesn't catch all the barnacle strewn sort of boulders down there. At the moment, just here, you see all this stone coming in. This moves, so sometimes it's here, sometimes it's sand for longer. At the moment we've had a lot of westerly storms, so therefore it's brought a lot of the stone over it. The sand comes out into sort of like a fine strip and runs in close down here, but I find when it does, that's actually really good for bass, especially during the summer. Get the spin rod out and give it a bash. Like I said, this isn't a neap tide venue, this is a definite spring tide venue. I've tried fishing it in all states over many years, probably about 12-14 years now, something like that, and I don't find any fish on neap tides here. If you do, it's normally like a single green eel or a single little bootlace conger, but on the spring tides this gives a real good show. Some people prefer to fish down here. We're coming up to the entrance to the marshland where it floods. At high tide it will flood all behind you, wouldn't panic, but course tactics later in the year can be really good behind here. You get mullet, you get bass. I've seen bass, not myself, but I was with the person, I've seen bass come out to £7 here. Occasionally you'll see fly fishermen on the marshes as well. So behind it's normally like a mill pond, it's pretty good. But back to Redsands anyway. So there's a channel here, which again is why I've come down now, so it's started to flood. You can see you can plonk your gear in here, and generally speaking I've had some good results out of this as well. Small taupe, large hounds, so you get the odd ray come down here too, like blonde ray. Haven't had many from here, but I've had a couple up around near double figures. I didn't weigh them, but they were definitely over 9, but I wouldn't say any bigger than 11. Excuse me, I've got the hiccups. Right, so again, during the summer you get all your bass running through here, and you'll see the mullet as well. If you walk the marshlands, in actual fact, at low tide in the small rivers and stuff that are around here, then not rivers, little channels, sorry, then you'll see all the small mullet and the small bass and small fry and stuff in there. There's a lot of crab in the marshland as well. Crab's a good bait here, so we'll just take you right up to the point. So sometimes this is where I fish. I'm right on the end of Redsands. Yeah, I said it was cold, there's snow up there. So, right, yeah. Literally entrance to the marshlands. Over the other side is Bossington Rough. You lose a lot of gear over that side. It's super heavy, snaggy, no matter how far you cast. And if you're casting close, generally speaking, it traps your line over there. It looks good, but it's a nightmare. So, generally speaking, I will sit literally just there. I cast one out to the left onto the stone and the edge of the sand, like there's a bank that goes down. I'm going to walk down there in a second. And I cast one onto the other side of this channel, normally in the gully, but just on the other side of it. And you get fish that come in and feed along here. Where it comes in around here, it creates like a small dead patch like eddy, and you'll see a little crease line there. Just cast your bait over into that and you really can't go wrong. Like if it's changed because of the wind or anything else, just look for the crease line, cast it into the flatter spot. Fish, they're naturally lazy. If they don't have to swim, they're not going to. They conserve energy, especially predator hunters. They'll just sit there, wait, dart out, grab the bait, come back, and you'll see them just sort of sitting there. So I've had a good few bass from there, nothing huge, sort of up to about £3, but always a nice catch nonetheless. So this is the other side of the bank. As you can see, it's mainly clay. Some bits are soft, some bits are hard. I wouldn't advise walking on it. This side, not so bad. You've got like shingles that cover it all, and you'll feel the shingles starting to sink before you actually put your foot into anything, so you're normally relatively safe over here. That wind's annoyingly strong today. I'm hoping that's not coming through on the mic. It's shielded inside my hoodie. So again, in close, I wouldn't cast in close here. The boulders will trap your line or your rig. See, you can see all the green stuff from where the fresh water comes out here. Generally speaking, it doesn't suffer with freshwater dump here, but you do get a lot of fresh water come down onto the marsh as well. But by the time it gets here, it's run through the marsh, picked up a lot of salt, and it's nowhere near as bad as a lot of other West Somerset marks. So I do cast my bait onto this. It's pretty compacted. You're unlucky to lose any gear here, although the weed is fixed, so do gear that's actually strong enough to pull it out of weed, because occasionally obviously it does hook up to it. So my right rod goes into that channel, literally just over there. You can see the crease line. I put it in the flat part and fish that, and it's probably about, for context, what we're looking at, maybe 25-30 yards, and it catches a lot. Okay, so this is where I cast the other bait. Again, I'm up over there and like behind that metal trestle or whatever it is, and I cast one down here on this ridge line that's naturally created. It's where the gravels and pebbles seem to end for some reason, but like you can see, it goes out and it actually creates a ring coming round to the entrance. I haven't tried fishing further out because never sure if I'm actually fully on it, whereas I know where this is, I cast where this is, I know I'm on it. Oh, I just climb up to the top of it, and you can see that tide, it races in here. So, but it creates like its own little feeding pool here. That's why I tend to fish this side more. It traps everything, and obviously the marsh is bringing food out all of the time, so fish do come and feed here quite naturally. Okay, so make our way back. As I say, the walk here is about 10 minutes with your gear. For context, I'm 45, not particularly fit at the moment. My box probably weighs about 20-25 kilos, and I carry my rods and tripod as well, so it takes me 10 minutes. So if you're fitter, a bit less. If you're worse than me, a bit more. But old fat boy is doing something about it this year, and we're losing some. Anyway, on the big spring tides, the tide does come all the way up to the top here. If it's rough weather, especially westerly, I wouldn't advise it. You can be swept off the top here quite easily, and the currents here are not child's play at all. They're really quite dangerous. So that's flooding in over the sand already. We'll head on back there just to have a quick look at that. And even if the tide does come all the way up to the top, The reason it's dangerous as well is you've got a body of water behind, so you've actually got nowhere to escape to. Again, always worthwhile bringing a guide. Once again, there's myself, Martin Wood, there's Craig Butler in Watch It, and Andy Bowra. We all do guiding. We all know the states of the tides and dangerous parts of the channel. So happy to take out fishing, obviously. So here we are. This is pretty much the middle mark of Redsands. This is Redsands, and well worth a winter fish or a summer fish, but it's normally one or the other. So Redsands. If you find yourself keep coming back and you're liking these videos, please drop a like and a subscribe. Any venues you'd like to see filmed, especially around West Somerset, please just drop a comment and I'll go and do them.